Is there love stronger than the universe itself? Love versus cosmic order. What if love wasn't something that grew within the confines of our hearts, but instead, something that arrived from beyond the stars? What if it came from a place so far away, so alien, that the very thought of it defies every rule of nature, logic, and reason? Would you still dare to embrace it, or would the vast gulf between two worlds be too great for any connection to survive? A year ago, I would have laughed at such an idea. But then, on a night that changed everything, I received a message. Not from someone I knew, not from any human, but from somewhere I couldn't explain. Somewhere I couldn't even fathom. A voice. A whisper across the universe. And in that moment, everything I thought I knew about love and life was shattered. What if the one true love of your life wasn't human at all? Imagine this, a forbidden love, a connection that transcends time, space, and reason. Between an earthling and an alien. A bond that should never have happened, and yet, it did. And it changed the very fabric of my reality. Are you ready to join me on this journey? Keep watching, because you won't believe what's coming next. This is no ordinary story. This is a cosmic tale that you have to experience, from beginning to end. Before we continue unraveling this incredible story, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. If you're one of the first 1,000 subscribers, you'll be joining an exclusive group, a family, as we explore the farthest corners of the universe, heart by heart. Don't miss out, stay with us and let's navigate the cosmos together. Zyra Xanth, a beautiful and mysterious being from the distant planet Aurelia, stepped onto the surface of Earth for the first time. Her long white hair shimmered under the artificial sunlight of the intergalactic spaceport, her emerald skin glowing with a faint ethereal light. The elegance in her movements was enough to turn every head in the room, but it was her eyes, large, violet, and captivating, that truly set her apart. They shimmered with an almost otherworldly brilliance, as if they held the secrets of the universe itself. Her outfit was a masterpiece, sleek, form-fitting, and designed with a futuristic style that allowed her to move freely yet exude an air of dignity and allure. The deep cut of her bodice only highlighted her well-defined curves, a striking contrast to her delicate and alien features. Zyra's pointed ears twitched as she surveyed the earthlings around her, her mind processing their strange yet fascinating behavior. Dante Hayes, a man from Earth, stood at the other end of the terminal, his eyes locked onto Zyra the moment she arrived. His imposing physique and confident posture made him stand out among the crowd. With his athletic build, his black hair, and piercing blue eyes, he looked like a force to be reckoned with. He was clad in a sleek, high-tech combat suit designed to enhance his physical capabilities. His every movement exuded strength and confidence, the result of years of rigorous training and preparation. Their eyes met for the first time, and in that moment, everything seemed to slow down. The bustling terminal, the clatter of footsteps, and the hum of the artificial air all faded away. All that mattered was the intense gaze they shared. There was an unspoken understanding between them, something more than mere attraction. It was as if fate had drawn them together, and neither could look away. Zyra, sensing the pull between them, took a few steps toward him. Her body moved with an elegance that was foreign yet familiar, drawing Dante's attention even more. He felt a strange heat rise within him, but it wasn't just physical. It was as if her very presence was stirring something deep inside him, something he had never experienced before. As she drew nearer, her scent, a delicate blend of alien spices and sweet floral notes, drifted through the air. Dante's senses sharpened, his heartbeat quickening as she closed the distance between them. There was something about her that was both intoxicating and overwhelming. Dante Hayes, he finally spoke, his voice deep and steady, despite the overwhelming emotions racing through him. "I presume you are Zyra Xanth." Zyra's lips curled into a faint smile, her voice soft and melodic, like a symphony of distant stars. "You are correct. I've been waiting to meet you." Her words hung in the air, thick with anticipation. Dante could sense the weight of her presence, the unspoken challenge she presented. Yet, there was something else, a vulnerability in her eyes that he hadn't expected from someone so powerful. In that moment, they both knew that this encounter was only the beginning. The universe had conspired to bring them together, and whatever lay ahead, they would face it together. Zyra's ship landed softly on the gleaming surface of Earth's surface port. Dante stood at the edge of the tarmac, his eyes trained on her, knowing that this would be more than just a typical diplomatic encounter. Zyra was unlike any being he had ever encountered. Her alien allure pulled him in, and yet, something about her felt strangely familiar. After a brief exchange with the Planetary Council, Zyra was escorted to her quarters within the military complex. Dante's heart beat faster with every step she took, the scent of her presence lingering in the air like an intoxicating perfume. It was as if her very essence was altering the environment around him. His mind raced, trying to focus on the mission at hand. He had been tasked to guide her, to ensure she understood Earth's protocols, but all he could think about was her. That evening, Dante found himself unable to focus on anything but Zyra. The military base was filled with technicians, scientists, and government officials, but in the back of his mind, he was consumed by the enigmatic alien woman who had so effortlessly captured his attention. He knew his job was simple: escort her, answer her questions, but the complexity of the situation gnawed at him. He couldn't shake the sense that there was something far more significant to their meeting than either of them understood. The next day, Zyra requested a private meeting with him. Dante arrived at her quarters, finding her standing at the large bay window that overlooked the sprawling city. Her figure was bathed in the soft glow of the setting sun, her white hair cascading over her shoulders like a silver waterfall. "Dante Hayes," she spoke, her voice soft but commanding, the words like music to his ears. "I requested your presence because there are questions that need to be answered. Earth's atmosphere is unlike anything I've encountered before. And it's not only the air, but the energy here. It feels different." Dante stepped closer, his gaze never leaving her form. "It's something we take for granted here. Earth has its own unique energy, its own atmosphere. It's not just in the air, it's in everything." Zyra turned toward him, her violet eyes glowing softly. There was something almost hypnotic about them, something that drew him in like a magnet. "I feel it within you," she said, taking a step closer, her voice barely above a whisper. "You are different from the others." Dante's heart raced. Was it her proximity, or something else that was causing his pulse to quicken. He swallowed hard, trying to keep his composure. "I'm just a soldier, Zyra. Nothing more." Her gaze deepened, her eyes scanning him in a way that sent a shiver down his spine. "You are not just a soldier, Dante," she replied softly. "I sense more within you, something powerful. Something untapped." Her words resonated within him, like a distant echo from a part of himself he had long forgotten. It was as if she could see into the very core of his being. A surge of heat coursed through him, and without thinking, he took another step closer. Their proximity was undeniable. He could smell the faint floral scent of her skin, the soft undertone of exotic spices that made his head spin. The air between them crackled with tension, an electric charge that neither of them could ignore. Zyra's lips parted slightly as she studied him. There was a vulnerability in her eyes that Dante hadn't expected. Despite her alien power, her advanced technology, and her otherworldly beauty, there was something human about her. And it terrified him. "Why are you here, Zyra?" Dante finally asked, his voice low and strained, barely able to contain the whirlwind of emotions churning within him. "What do you want from Earth?" "From me?" Zyra took a slow, deliberate step toward him. "I don't know yet," she whispered. "But I sense that you and I are connected in a way that I cannot explain. Something greater than both of us." Before Dante could respond, she closed the gap between them, her body just inches from his. She stood still for a moment, her eyes locked onto his, as if waiting for something, waiting for him to make the first move. He could feel the heat radiating from her, and the magnetic pull between them was undeniable. For a brief moment, time seemed to stop. The air between them hummed with electricity, a tension that neither could deny. They were two beings from different worlds, and yet, something about this moment felt destined. As if the universe had conspired to bring them together. Dante's breath caught in his throat as he found himself leaning closer. The faint scent of her skin overwhelmed him, a mix of delicate florals and an exotic spice that ignited every one of his senses. Zyra's eyes were wide, her breath shallow, but there was no fear in them, only something more powerful, something that matched the raw emotions swirling within him. And in that fleeting moment, their lips brushed together softly, tentatively, as if testing the waters. The contact was electric. It sent a shockwave through both of them, and for a brief moment, the world around them ceased to exist. It was as if nothing mattered except for the two of them, caught in an unspoken, undeniable connection. As the kiss deepened, Dante's hands instinctively found their way to her hips, feeling the softness of her body beneath the sleek fabric of her outfit. His heart raced, his pulse quickened, and yet, he couldn't stop. The intensity of the moment overwhelmed him, pushing him to take what his body had been yearning for. But just as the kiss reached its peak, Zyra pulled away, her breath coming in ragged gasps. She looked at him, her eyes wide, her violet irises glowing with an intensity that matched his own. "We can't do this," she whispered, her voice trembling slightly. "Not yet. There are things bigger than us at play." Dante stood frozen, his body aching with desire, but also with confusion. "What do you mean?" What's stopping us? Zyra's expression softened, a hint of sadness flickering across her face. The universe has its own plans for us, Dante. And we must follow them, even if it means facing our greatest fears. The tension that had built between them lingered in the air long after their brief, electric kiss. Zyra stood back, her breath shallow, her violet eyes still reflecting the storm of emotions she was feeling. Dante, equally shaken, tried to regain control of his mind and body, but he couldn't shake the overwhelming attraction that pulsed between them like an uncontrollable force. Zyra. Dante's voice was low, his words lingering in the space between them. He needed answers, but more than that, he needed to understand what had just happened. His body ached with the memory of the kiss, a kiss that felt like more than just a fleeting moment of passion. It felt like the beginning of something much larger. Zyra took a step back, her gaze never leaving his, the glow in her eyes dimming slightly as she regained her composure. Dante, I don't know what this is. I can feel it too, this bond between us. It's overwhelming, but we can't let it control us. There are greater forces at play. Dante's hand reached for hers, instinctively, but he stopped himself just in time. She wasn't just an alien with extraordinary beauty, she was also a powerful being with knowledge that reached beyond his understanding. Yet, despite the vast difference between their worlds, their connection felt undeniable. He needed to know what it all meant. We're more alike than you think, Zyra, Dante said, his voice tinged with a mix of frustration and longing. I can't explain it, but when I'm near you, everything feels right. And I don't understand why. Why am I feeling this way about someone from another world? Zyra looked down for a moment, as if contemplating his words. Then she slowly met his gaze, her eyes filled with a strange, unspoken wisdom. Maybe it's not about where we come from, Dante. Maybe it's about who we are, together. Her words hit him like a wave, washing away any remaining doubts he had. What was it about her that made him feel like this? It was more than just the physical attraction, it was something deeper, something that resonated in his very soul. Before he could respond, a soft hum filled the room. Zyra's hand instinctively went to the small pendant around her neck, a glowing crystal that pulsed with light. It seemed to react to the energy in the room, the very atmosphere shifting around them. Dante noticed her face change, a frown tugging at her lips. What's happening? He asked, his voice laced with concern. Zyra's eyes narrowed, her fingers tightening around the pendant. It's a signal. Something's wrong. I feel a disturbance. The energy, it's fluctuating in ways it shouldn't. There's something here on Earth, something, or someone, watching us. Dante's heart skipped a beat. He had been so consumed by the bond growing between them that he hadn't noticed the subtle changes in the environment. The air felt thicker now, heavier, as though something was looming just beyond their reach. We need to move, Zyra said urgently, her eyes scanning the room. I don't know what it is, but we can't stay here. Not yet. Dante nodded, immediately stepping into action. The urgency in Zyra's voice left no room for hesitation. Together, they moved quickly through the corridors of the military complex, heading toward the underground lab that Zyra had requested to see earlier. But as they walked, Dante couldn't shake the feeling that they were being followed. The feeling intensified as they turned down a narrow hallway. He glanced at Zyra, who was leading the way, her body tense, every muscle alert. She had been right, something was wrong. They arrived at the lab. The steel door sliding open with a hiss. Inside, a vast array of alien technology was spread out before them: scanners, energy converters, and tools that Dante couldn't even begin to understand. But what caught his attention most was the large console in the center of the room. It was displaying a series of numbers, cryptic and incomprehensible. Zyra walked toward the console, her hands moving with practiced precision as she activated the system. The room buzzed with energy, the lights flickering as if the very foundation of the complex was responding to the pulse of the console. "What is this?" Dante asked, his voice low as he stepped closer to her. Zyra didn't answer right away. Instead, she continued to manipulate the alien controls, her face etched with concentration. "It's a transmission," she said finally, her voice barely a whisper. "A signal from Aurelia, my home. They're calling me back, but..." She paused, her eyes flickering with worry. "There's something they're not telling me." Dante stepped up beside her, the bond between them intensifying with each passing moment. "What aren't they telling you, Zyra?" She looked at him then, her eyes wide with a mixture of fear and determination. "I don't know. But I feel it. They've been hiding something. Something dangerous." Before Dante could ask more, the hum of the console shifted again, and a new signal appeared on the screen. This one was more urgent, more chaotic, as though the entire planet was reacting to it. Zyra's face drained of color. "It's not just a signal anymore. They've found us. They're here." The room hummed with a low, eerie sound, the pulse of the alien console resonating through the walls. Zyra's violet eyes were wide, her breath shallow, as she studied the chaotic signal flashing on the screen. Dante stood beside her, feeling the weight of the moment pressing down on them both. He could sense it now, the danger that Zyra had felt, the looming threat that had been hiding just beyond the surface. Zyra's fingers trembled as they hovered over the console. She knew what the signal meant. The hidden truth that had been buried deep within the transmission was finally coming to light. But it wasn't the truth she had expected. "They've found us," Zyra repeated, her voice tight. "Aurelia, they've sent something, or someone, to bring me back. And it's not just a peaceful mission. This is a command. A command that cannot be ignored." Dante turned to her, his mind racing. "Who? What's happening? Zyra?" Her eyes met his, and for the first time since they'd met, he saw a flicker of fear in them. It wasn't the fear of an alien being, it was something much more human. She was scared not of the power she wielded, but of the unknown. "The ones who sent me here," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. "They've been watching Earth, watching me, watching us. They know about our connection. And they don't approve." Dante felt his heart race. "What does that mean for us? For you, and me?" Zyra turned away from him, her eyes scanning the lab. But her mind clearly elsewhere. "It means, we are a threat. Our bond is too strong, too powerful. I was never meant to form this connection with a human. The elders on Aurelia, they can't understand it. They'll do anything to sever it, to stop it from growing. Her words sent a chill down Dante's spine. He had felt the intensity between them, the undeniable pull that had drawn them together from the first moment their eyes met. But to hear that their bond was something that could be seen as a threat, it left him speechless. Zyra's gaze turned back to him, her eyes softening, though the weight of the situation was heavy between them. I never wanted this. I didn't come here for you. I came for knowledge, for understanding. But now, I can't ignore it. The room seemed to close in on them as she stepped closer, her presence overpowering in a way Dante couldn't explain. Her body, her voice, the very energy she exuded, it all pulled him in. He could feel the heat between them, the electric pull that neither of them could resist. Before he could speak, Zyra reached out, her hand brushing against his. The touch was electric. It was soft, delicate, but it sent a shockwave through his body, a rush of sensation that was both overwhelming and exhilarating. He looked down at her, his chest rising and falling with rapid breaths. He could see it in her eyes. She wanted this. She wanted him. The very thought made his pulse quicken, and for a brief moment, the world outside them ceased to exist. Zyra leaned in, her lips barely brushing against his. Dante, she whispered, her voice low, almost pleading. This is forbidden. But I can't stop it. And neither can you. His hand moved to her waist, pulling her closer as he kissed her with a fierce urgency, their lips meeting in a passionate, hungry kiss that was years in the making. The world around them seemed to disappear, leaving only the heat of their bodies, the pounding of their hearts, and the overwhelming need to be close to each other. Zyra's body pressed against his, her curves fitting perfectly against his muscular frame. He could feel her pulse, her warmth, as her hand slid up to his shoulders, pulling him deeper into the kiss. It was as if the universe itself had conspired to bring them together, to make them one in a moment that transcended time and space. But just as quickly as it began, Zyra pulled away, her eyes wide with a mixture of longing and regret. We can't, she whispered, her breath ragged. It's too dangerous. Dante's heart raced as he tried to steady himself, the connection between them still thrumming in his veins. Why? He asked, his voice thick with emotion. Why can't we? Zyra. Why can't we be together? Zyra's gaze darkened, and for a moment, it was as if the weight of the universe was pressing down on her. Because if we do, it will destroy us both, she said, her voice breaking with the weight of her words. My people will destroy you. They'll destroy everything. Dante clenched his fists, frustration flooding through him. I don't care about them, he said, his voice full of conviction. I care about you. And I'm not going to let anything tear us apart. Zyra stepped back, her eyes flashing with a mix of fear and resolve. You don't understand, she said, her voice tinged with pain. This bond, it's too powerful. If we give in to it, the consequences will be catastrophic. For both of us. For Earth. For Aurelia. We'll become pawns in a war we don't even understand. Dante stared at her, his chest tightening with every word she spoke. He wanted to argue, to tell her that they could fight this fight everything together. But the truth was, she was right. There was no easy answer. No simple solution. The consequences of their bond were greater than either of them could have imagined. But one thing was clear. No matter the dangers, no matter the cost. Dante knew he couldn't walk away from her. And Zyra, she couldn't walk away from him either. The tension between them was unbearable. The kiss they had shared, the bond they had felt, Zyra couldn't deny it any longer. It was something deeper, more profound than anything she had ever experienced. And yet, the very thing that connected them was the same thing that threatened to tear them apart. She could feel it in her chest, the pull of the universe, tugging at her heart, urging her to break free of Dante, to sever the dangerous connection they had forged. But she couldn't. Not yet. And maybe not ever. Dante was pacing in the corner of the lab. His body tense, his mind racing. He was desperate for answers, but no matter how hard he tried, Zyra's words kept echoing in his mind. If we give in to this, it will destroy us both. He could barely hear her now as his thoughts swirled, but the only thing that mattered was this: he had to protect her. He had to protect them. They couldn't be separated, no matter what the cost. Zyra, he said, his voice breaking through the chaos of his mind. Tell me more. What do they want with us? What will they do? Zyra's gaze softened, but there was a flicker of sadness in her eyes. She stepped toward him, her every movement graceful, like liquid, but there was an underlying tension in her body that betrayed her true feelings. They want to end it, she said, her voice barely a whisper. They want to sever the bond we've formed. My people, they've known about this connection for a long time, but they thought it was a fluke, an anomaly. They didn't believe it was real. But now, they know it is. And they fear what it could mean. Dante stepped forward, his chest tight with emotion. What does it mean? Zyra. What's so dangerous about us? About me? She looked at him, her expression pained. The bond we share, it's not just emotional. It's biological. Our energies, our very beings are intertwining in a way that neither of us fully understands. If we continue this connection, we could become something more. Something powerful. And that power, she trailed off, her voice trembling. That power is something my people cannot control. They can't allow it. It's too dangerous. Too unpredictable. Dante shook his head, trying to make sense of it all. So they're willing to kill us to stop it? To stop me from being with you? Zyra took a deep breath, her shoulders slumping with the weight of the truth. It's not just about us. It's about the balance of the universe. If we fully merge, it will shift the power dynamic between Earth and Aurelia. My people fear what that could mean. They believe it could start a war. A war that would destroy everything. Everything. Dante's heart pounded in his chest. He had never imagined that his feelings for Zyra could have such far-reaching consequences. But he couldn't let her go. He wouldn't. Not now, not after everything they had shared. "Zyra," he said softly, his voice filled with determination, "I don't care about any war. I care about you. I care about us. We can fight this. We can fight them. Together." She looked at him, her eyes searching his face, as if she were looking for a sign that he understood the gravity of the situation. But then something flickered in her gaze, something that made her heart ache, something she had been trying to suppress for so long. For the briefest moment, the distance between them melted away. Zyra moved closer, her body drawn to him as if by an invisible force. Without thinking, she reached up, her hand cupping the side of his face. Her touch was gentle, but there was a strength to it, a quiet power that made his breath catch in his throat. Her thumb brushed over his cheek, the touch soft yet deliberate. "I don't want to hurt you, Dante," she whispered. "But if we continue down this path, we might both lose everything. I might lose you." Dante's hand found hers, and for the first time in what felt like an eternity, he allowed himself to just feel. His fingers intertwined with hers, his thumb running over her skin, absorbing the warmth of her touch, the electricity that flowed between them. "I'll never leave you," he said, his voice low and intense. "We can't let fear control us. Not now. Not after everything we've been through." Zyra's eyes softened, and for a moment, she seemed to lose herself in him, her walls, her fears, everything, slipping away. And then, as if pulled by an unseen force, their lips met once more. This time, the kiss was slow, deliberate, and full of raw emotion. It was a kiss that spoke of uncertainty and hope, of fear and desire. A kiss that transcended the boundaries of space and time. As their bodies pressed closer, the intensity of their connection grew, each touch, each caress igniting something deeper inside them both. But even as they lost themselves in each other, the weight of the universe still loomed over them, reminding them that their love was a forbidden one, fraught with danger and consequences. Zyra pulled away first, her breath shaky, her heart racing. She looked into his eyes, her own filled with conflicted emotions. "I wish I could stay with you," she said, her voice barely audible. "But I can't. We can't." Dante's eyes softened, and he cupped her face in his hands. "We'll find a way. Zyra. We'll figure this out. Together." But Zyra could only shake her head, a tear slipping down her cheek. "The universe has a way of deciding these things, Dante. And if we are to survive, we must face what's coming. No matter the cost." The hum of the military base was deafening. The once calm corridors now seemed alive with a sense of urgency and impending danger. As the days passed, the tension between Dante and Zyra only grew, each moment spent together filled with more questions than answers. The force that pulled them together was undeniable, but so was the threat that loomed over them. The mission, the future of Earth, and the fate of their bond, everything was hanging by a thread. Zyra stood at the edge of the rooftop, her figure silhouetted against the dimming sky. The stars above twinkled brightly, reminding her of her home, the distant planet of Aurelia. She closed her eyes for a moment, listening to the whispers of the universe that only she could hear. There was a deep sadness in her heart, an ache that she could not ignore. The connection she shared with Dante, the one that had begun as a spark, had now ignited into an inferno that threatened to consume them both. "Dante," she whispered, her voice carried by the wind, "I don't know if we can survive this." Dante's voice broke through her thoughts, firm and steady. "I don't care about the consequences, Zyra. What I care about is you. We've already crossed the line. There's no going back now." She turned to face him, her eyes filled with both sorrow and longing. "You don't understand. My people, my leaders, they'll stop at nothing to separate us. They believe that this bond is a danger to everything we know. They'll come for us. Dante. They'll destroy you, they'll destroy Earth." Dante stepped forward, his gaze unwavering. "I don't care about their power, their rules. I care about what's right in front of me. And right now, that's you. Together, we can fight them. Together, we can find a way to stop them." Zyra's breath caught in her throat. His words, so filled with conviction, were the very thing she had been trying to ignore. But deep down, she knew he was right. The connection between them wasn't just powerful, it was life-altering. And if they didn't fight for it now, they would lose it forever. She reached out to him, her fingers brushing against his chest. "If we do this, if we fight them, we may lose everything we know. But I can't lose you. Dante. Not after everything." His hand gently cupped her face, his thumb tracing the curve of her jaw, his touch sending sparks through her entire body. "We'll fight for each other, Zyra. We'll fight for this, whatever this is." Zyra closed her eyes, allowing herself to feel the warmth of his touch, the undeniable pull between them. Her chest tightened with emotion. She knew the stakes. She knew the risks. But at that moment, none of it seemed to matter. The world around them faded into the background as they stood there, connected by something deeper than either of them could have anticipated. In that fragile silence, their lips met again, slow, lingering, and full of unspoken promises. The kiss was different this time, though. There was no hesitation, no fear. Just the raw, overwhelming desire to hold on to each other, no matter what the universe had in store. But as they pulled away, Zyra's face hardened with resolve. "We need to leave Earth. Dante. Now. My people will be here soon, and when they arrive, we'll have no time to escape." Dante's expression faltered for a brief moment, but he nodded. "Where do we go?" "To Aurelia," she replied. "I'll take you to my world. But only if you're ready. There's no turning back once we go." Dante looked into her eyes, and for the first time, he saw the fear there. Not for herself, but for him. She was afraid for him, afraid that her people would destroy him. But he couldn't back down now. Not after everything they had been through. Not after everything they shared. "I'm ready," he said, his voice steady, unwavering. "Let's go." Together. They left Earth under the cover of darkness, their departure shrouded in secrecy. The intergalactic vessel Zyra piloted hummed softly as they soared through the atmosphere, heading toward the distant star system of Aurelia. Dante sat beside her in the cockpit, the stars outside flashing by at an incredible speed. His heart was racing not from fear, but from the sheer anticipation of what lay ahead. They were embarking on a journey that could change everything. As they entered deep space, the quiet hum of the ship was the only sound that filled the cockpit. Dante glanced over at Zyra, whose expression was one of concentration, but also of something else. A heaviness that lingered in her eyes. "You're scared," Dante said softly, his voice breaking the silence. Zyra didn't look at him, but her hands tightened around the controls. "I've never been more scared in my life. If Aurelia finds out I brought you here, there will be no forgiveness. They'll exile me. They'll destroy us both." Dante reached out, gently placing his hand over hers. "We're in this together, Zyra. I won't let you face this alone." Zyra's lips parted, and for a moment, she seemed to hesitate. But then, as if making a decision, she leaned into him, her face close to his. "I don't know what's going to happen when we reach Aurelia," she whispered. "But I do know this: if we have to fight, I will fight for you, Dante. For us." Dante's heart swelled with a mixture of relief and something deeper, something more profound than just love. "And I'll fight for you. No matter what." The distance between them seemed to shrink as they held each other's gaze, the weight of their shared understanding heavy in the air. There was no turning back now. Whatever happened when they reached Aurelia, they would face it together. Aurelia was unlike anything Dante had ever seen. As they descended through the atmosphere, he could feel the overwhelming sense of power radiating from the planet. The cityscape was a vast, luminous expanse, towering structures made of materials Dante could only describe as otherworldly. The architecture was alien, futuristic, and beautiful, with shimmering surfaces that seemed to pulse with an energy all their own. Zyra led him through the city, her every step purposeful, her body tense with the knowledge that they were walking into the heart of her people's civilization, and with it, the looming danger that awaited them. The air was thick with anticipation, the silence between them a reflection of the gravity of their situation. They were being watched. Dante could feel it. Everywhere he looked, he saw eyes on him, discreet, but unmistakable. The people of Aurelia, with their tall, slender frames and shimmering eyes, regarded him with curiosity, but also with caution. It was clear that they had never seen an Earthling before, and the fear of the unknown was evident in their gazes. Zyra, for all her strength, was visibly nervous, and Dante could see that the weight of her people's expectations was heavy on her shoulders. But she never wavered. She was strong, determined, and resolute. They reached a large hall, its doors opening with a soft hum. Inside, the leaders of Aurelia awaited them, the elders, the ones who held the fate of both worlds in their hands. Zyra stepped forward, her posture regal but tense. "I've returned," she said, her voice unwavering. "And I bring with me the truth." The room fell silent. Dante could feel the eyes of the elders on him, their judgment piercing. He stood tall beside Zyra, ready to face whatever came next. He knew that this moment would define everything. Whatever happened here would shape the future of both Earth and Aurelia, and his future with Zyra. The air in the grand hall of Aurelia was thick with tension. The elders, standing in their robes of shimmering light, cast their unblinking eyes upon Dante and Zyra. The walls of the room pulsed with an energy that seemed to react to the presence of the two of them, an energy that Dante could feel in his bones. Zyra stood tall beside him, but Dante could sense her anxiety. She had told him what they might face: her people's desire to sever their bond, to control the power they shared. But standing here, facing the very beings who had the power to destroy everything they cared about, made the reality of their situation even more daunting. One of the elders, an imposing figure with silver hair and glowing blue eyes, stepped forward. His voice was like a thunderclap as he spoke. "Zyra Xanth," he began, his gaze shifting to Dante, "you have broken the laws of Aurelia. You have bound yourself to an earthling, a creature beneath us, a being with no place in our world. You have jeopardized the delicate balance of the universe. The consequences of this cannot be ignored." Dante's fists clenched at his sides, but he kept his composure. Zyra's hand brushed his, a silent gesture of solidarity. "We did not choose this," Zyra spoke, her voice calm but firm, yet there was an unmistakable edge to it. "What I have with Dante is not a crime. It is a bond, a connection that transcends the boundaries of our worlds. This bond is not something to be feared. It is something to be embraced." The elder's gaze turned cold, his eyes flickering with an unsettling intensity. "This bond, Zyra, is not what you believe it to be. It is a weapon, a force beyond comprehension. If allowed to grow, it will shatter everything you've ever known. It will bring chaos to our world, and to Earth. And we cannot allow that." Dante stepped forward, his voice filled with a quiet fury. "I don't care about your laws or your fears. I care about Zyra. And I will fight for her, for us. You think this bond is a weapon? Maybe it's the weapon that can save both our worlds." There was a moment of silence, the tension palpable as both sides took in each other's words. The elders looked at him as if he were a mere ant, not worth their time. But Zyra, standing at his side, looked at him with a mixture of admiration and something deeper, something that almost made her want to break down in front of him. The elder who had spoken earlier, his voice now laced with more bitterness, turned to the others. "We will not let this bond continue. If necessary, we will eliminate the Earthling and erase any trace of his influence on Zyra." Dante's breath caught in his throat, but Zyra was quicker than he had anticipated. Her voice rang out with authority, her presence commanding the room. "No." Zyra's cry echoed through the hall. "You do not get to decide my fate, or his. This bond is ours, and if you try to break it, you will destroy both of us. And you will destroy the very thing that can save Aurelia from its own collapse." The room was silent for a long, agonizing moment. Zyra's defiance hung in the air like a charge ready to explode, and Dante felt his heart hammering in his chest. This was the moment. Everything they had fought for, everything they had shared, was now at risk. Finally, the elder spoke again, his voice low but carrying the weight of an entire civilization. "We will not tolerate rebellion. The consequences will be dire. Zyra, you will be exiled. The Earthling will be taken from you, and we will wipe the memory of this bond from both your minds." Dante's hands tightened into fists. His eyes locked onto Zyra's, and in that moment, he knew what he had to do. They couldn't let this happen, not to them, not to the universe. He wasn't just fighting for himself, but for Zyra, for Earth, for their future together. "I won't let you take her," he said, his voice firm and unwavering. "I'll fight until my last breath to keep her safe. And if you think you can erase me, you're wrong." Zyra's eyes softened as she looked at him, a single tear slipping down her cheek. "Dante, we have to fight together. But if we fail, if they destroy you, I can't live with myself. I can't let that happen." A moment of absolute stillness passed between them. Then, with no more words needed, they shared one final look, a look that spoke volumes about their love, their devotion, and their unspoken promise to stand by each other, no matter the cost. With a sudden surge of energy, the air around them began to shimmer, the power of their connection manifesting in the very atmosphere. The room trembled as both Zyra and Dante unleashed the full extent of their bond, of force so strong, so pure, that it threatened to rupture the very fabric of the space around them. The elders gasped in shock, their eyes widening as the energy grew stronger, swirling around them in an intense, radiant glow. For the first time in Aurelia's history, the power of love had become the most dangerous force in the universe. This is impossible," the elder cried out, stumbling back as the light intensified. "You cannot control this. You cannot defeat us." Zyra's voice rang out above the chaos. "No one can control love. No one can break it. It is stronger than anything you can do to us." The energy surged again, and in that moment, Zyra and Dante made their final choice. Together, they would face whatever came next. Together, they would fight not just for their love, but for the survival of both their worlds. The explosion of energy in the grand hall of Aurelia was deafening, a blinding light that filled the room, disorienting everyone within it. Dante and Zyra stood side by side, their bodies pressed together, the bond between them crackling with intensity as they faced the wrath of the elders. For the first time, the leaders of Aurelia looked shaken, their usual composure gone, their eyes wide with disbelief. They had never encountered anything like this raw, unfiltered power born of love, not of technology or strategy. This was something far beyond their control, something they could neither understand nor contain. Zyra's heart beat loudly in her chest, her pulse racing as the light around them pulsed in perfect synchronization with her emotions. The bond between her and Dante was not just a connection, it was a force, a living, breathing entity that was now fully awakened. The more they stood together, the more powerful it became. "This ends now," the elder leader bellowed, his voice booming through the hall. "You will not take control of Aurelia. You will not bring Earth into our domain. This power, it's too dangerous." Zyra, her chest heaving with exertion, stepped forward, her voice calm but resolute. "This power is not meant to be controlled. It's meant to be shared, to create something greater than either of us could have imagined. And we won't let you destroy it, or us." Dante's hand found hers, the warmth of her skin grounding him, the connection between them stronger than ever. "We won't let you take her from me," he said, his voice low, yet filled with a quiet strength that had been born from their time together. The elders stood their ground, still unwilling to yield, their forms bathed in a cold, calculating light. But Zyra's eyes glowed with a deep inner fire, her determination cutting through the tension like a blade. Suddenly, the energy around them intensified, swirling violently, pulling at the very fabric of the room. The air became thick, the walls trembling as the power between Dante and Zyra threatened to tear the space apart. Zyra closed her eyes for a moment, her mind reaching out, connecting with the energy that flowed between them. She felt it, the sheer force of their bond. It was more than just love. It was life. It was creation. It was universal. With a final, decisive breath, Zyra spoke, her voice firm and clear. "We will not be separated. Not by you. Not by anyone." The light surged one last time, and in that instant, the room erupted in a wave of brilliance that filled every corner, every shadow, and every inch of space with the pure energy of their love. The power surged, spiraling out of control, until it collided with the energy field surrounding the elders. They screamed, the power overwhelming them, their defenses shattering like glass. And then, in a heartbeat, it was done. The light faded, and the room fell silent. Dante and Zyra stood in the center of the hall, their hands still clasped together, their bodies trembling from the intensity of the energy they had just unleashed. They had done it. They had broken through the chains of fate, of power, of fear. The elders, now kneeling, their once glistening forms dim and broken, looked up at them in disbelief. This should not be possible," the elder leader gasped, his voice raw with exhaustion. "You have defied everything." Zyra stepped forward, her eyes blazing with power and purpose. "We didn't defy anything. We embraced everything. This is our future. This is the future of both our worlds." The elder leader, his face a mix of awe and fury, said nothing more. He could not. The power that Zyra and Dante had unlocked was too vast, too deep, to be denied. Aurelia had always prided itself on its control, its superiority. But they had failed to account for the one thing that was greater than any force they could command, the strength of the human heart, and the boundless power of love. Zyra turned to Dante, her eyes softening as she stepped toward him. "It's over," she whispered. "We've won. We've broken through." Dante pulled her into his arms, his heart beating in sync with hers, the weight of everything they had just overcome settling between them like a shared breath. "Together, we can do anything," he whispered into her ear. And as the elders of Aurelia fell silent, defeated by the very force they had tried to suppress, Dante and Zyra stood united, two beings from different worlds, bound by love, and unbreakable in their resolve. Their love was no longer a secret. It was no longer a forbidden force. It was their greatest strength. And with it, they had rewritten the future. In the quietest of moments, when the universe itself seemed to pause, I found the answer. You see, love, like the stars, isn't bound by space or time. It doesn't care where you come from, or who you are. It just is. It exists in the places we least expect, in the spaces between us that can't be seen, but are always there forever. In that moment, when everything was shrouded in uncertainty, I understood something far deeper. Love doesn't need to be understood, it needs to be felt. I stood there, gazing into the vast unknown with him, an alien, a being from another world, and yet, somehow, my world felt complete. The stars in the sky could never shine brighter than the light we had ignited. But there's more to this story. There are more questions to answer. If we were meant to be together, then why does the universe seem so determined to keep us apart? And as we faced the forces of Aurelia, the ones who would stop at nothing to tear us apart, I realized something. We had already won. Not because we defeated them, but because we found something more powerful than anything in the universe. We found love. But is that enough? What happens when the universe has other plans? Will our love survive the forces that want to tear it apart? Will we become pawns in a game we don't even understand, or will we break free and create our own destiny? And with that thought hanging in the air, I leave you with a question. One that you'll have to answer in your own heart. Can love ever truly be defeated? If you believe love can transcend the boundaries of the universe, and if you're ready to follow this story to its conclusion, hit that subscribe button. Join me, and let's continue this adventure together. We're only just beginning, and trust me, the best is yet to come. Be part of the first 1,000. You're not just subscribing to a channel. You're joining an extraordinary journey across galaxies, a journey that's as much about love as it is about discovery. The question remains, will we keep searching for love, beyond the stars, beyond time itself? The answer may just surprise you.